So I do believe we are live here on Dirty Laundry Media. I'm your host, Bill Money. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the channel today for what I believe will be a thought-provoking and productive discussion. Now, I have two guests on the panel, scheduled guests. We have Kwame Brown, uh, who most of you have followed here. Thank you all for tuning in to the channel. If this is your first time, you are very welcome. I thank you very much. Salute to the brother Kwame Brown and the brother Mo Fax. Will also be joining us from the Mo Fax show on YouTube. If you are familiar, if you are here on his behalf, again, I welcome you and I thank you for tuning into the channel today. We'll get started shortly, and let me unmute the brother Mo Fax. Okay, you are. How you doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing well. Can everybody hear me clearly? Does my mic sound nice? Check it out. All right, Melody Queen. What's good, Miguel Espinal? Melody Queen, thanks for subscribing. Those of you guys that check it. Got Scott. Is it Vegebird? Musa. I think he's here to Mo. You know and I know. So let's see, we got Sandra James. We got People Salute. Absolutely. 49ers gang, good morning. Check Stub. Good morning. Brian Music. My guy Jonah19, thanks for tapping in on the channel. April Home. Hi there. So yeah, I do well I did send the link to Kwame through Relinquishing, so hopefully tapping it soon. But the discussion that I want to have today, it basically emanated from a live discussion on Kwame's channel in which we discussed, the conflict between many black female, male, female relationships. And wanted to go into that a little bit further. So as I prepared for this live, as Brother Mo Fax is very familiar with, I was kind of taken down a rabbit hole. And titling the talk of the discussion, Conscious Dating and Mating. United we stand, divided we fall. Want to keep it simple. Conscious dating and mating basically refers to the concept of being selective in who you date, being selective, and you decide to mate with, planning, long range options, things of that nature. But I was thinking about what are some of the main impediments or the main impediment. I wanted to set a framework. Well, I think Brother Brown is in the building.
How you doing, brother?
Doing good, doing good. Well, let me just back up for a minute. I want to just take a moment to, acknowledge my guest. He doesn't. Right. If you guys know Mo never hands up. And I wanted to bring Mo. Mo is excellent at deconstructing ideas, images that we come across in the media, movies, television, however it may come. I've come to respect his ability to read between the lines. And so I thought he'd be an excellent guest. And the link can be given out if there's any ladies who want to join the live. I did not procure any ladies to be scheduled on the live, but if anybody wants the link, I will put it in the chat. I'm sure some of you ladies are going to want to chime in. All righty, so everybody knows Brother Kwame Brown, former #1 NBA draft pick. Hell of a nigga, if I myself. He's been making waves on YouTube for about, on my end, I think I came in on around May. I'm not sure if it started before then, but I came in and, I was pretty much on board with the message. I was on board with the energy, I'm like Brother Kwame, I don't mess with anybody. But if somebody wants the smoke, we can light a match and light a fire. But, so yeah, his experience is invaluable. He's been in rooms that many of us have not been in as a result of his profession.
They're saying check the audio, brother, not to interrupt. Queen Regina is saying.
Is my audio coming through? What do I need to do? Let's see.
Yeah, we want to make sure this is loud and clear so everybody can hear what's about to happen.
Yeah, your mic is loud and.
Oh, okay. I see what happened.
And peace to you, Kwame. I didn't speak to you when you came in.
Yeah, Kwame, Mo Kwame. Not sure if you guys are familiar with each other. Is the mic sounding better now? I think I had switched to.
Sound great.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it switched off to the headset mic when I plugged in my headset. So my apologies. But I wanted to get to the root of the issue between the black man and the black woman. Mm-hmm. And in my, last few days of just delving into the idea based on what I knew, where I knew I kind of wanted to start from, I wanted to frame the conversation. Because the problems between black men and black women, historically, in this setting of the United States, we can follow the history from slavery on up until today. Our family unit has been tinkered with, dismantled, pretty much done with, whatever those in power have pleased. But wanted to bring it to a modern day context. And I wanted to introduce a video clip, another page I borrowed from Mo. I wanted to play a clip to kind of set the tone, because in my, what I'm looking at it as the attack on the black family has components. The black man. And this is what I wanted to focus on. The attack on the black man. And Kwame, you were hitting on this earlier this morning on your live. So I was like, this is perfect, in keeping with what I wanted to share. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this goes through without a hitch. The clips were too large to load in. Let's see. I'm just going to share my entire screen. So bear with me. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Yes. Yeah, we see it.
That I used to think that racism was about economics. And after I had read and considered myself a Marxist and thought very deeply about that and read everything about that, it did not seem to answer the questions that I had, and I was looking for answers to the problem of racism so I could help black people who were mentally disturbed get better. So I was looking and looking and looking beyond the issue of economics. And I heard this gentleman say that racism had to do with people who classify themselves as white, maintaining control and domination over people who are classified as non-white. And Mr. Fuller maintains that if you don't understand that, every single other thing that you know will only confuse you. That if you don't understand in that context, then every other thing that you understand will only confuse you. If it is about economics, why destroy the black man and let the woman go? See, we have to answer that question. Why are black men filling the prisons? Why are black men on the corner with alcohol or drugs? Why are the black men unemployed to the level that they are unemployed? That question has to be answered by any description of a system. If you say, well, this is what it's all about, then your answer about what it's all about has to explain it. The reason that black people in general are under attack, and that black men in particular are under attack, is because of the fundamental issue of white genetic survival. So that if the fundamental problem is that there has to be white genetic survival, then the problem becomes both the male and the female, but much more so the male than the female. Now, many people use the word apartheid, and when they use that word, their brain computer jumps over to South Africa. And they say, we must do something about apartheid over there somewhere. But I advocate not using words that confuse the brain, but using words and phrases that clarify issues. Apartheid is a word that means white supremacy. It means that the 22 million black people must be controlled by the 4 million people who classify themselves as white for the purpose of white genetic. Are you with me? Yeah. For the purpose of white genetic survival, not for the purpose of economics. This is absolutely essential that black people everywhere begin to understand this issue. It is our fear that causes us not to face it. Okay? Now, because of the issue of white genetic survival and its very specific attack on the male, we have what we call the collapse of the black family. Why? Because it takes a male who is a breadwinner, see how quiet it got, and a female who can nurture children to make family. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Don't let anybody tell you that family equals female and children. Because in a very short time, you will have a feminization of the male. In the next little while, you will have bisexuality. And the next little while, you will have homosexuality. And now we have an epidemic of bisexuality and homosexuality, whereas in Africa, we had none. So that if the male is knocked out, you have like they would say, damn near the defeat of the people. Okay.
All right. Hold on, get up out of here. So yeah, I wanted to bring that into the discussion to kind of frame um, what I feel to be the fundamental issue between black men and black women in our family units and the attack. Am I having an echo?
Just a tad bit.
Okay, I think we got it now. So what do you guys think? That was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing for those who are not familiar with her. Um, and she basically, framed it, the attacks that emanate on us by the dominant group are basically to ensure that one group survives at the cost of another. I'm relating this to our situations today because many of us we fight over economics. Black women, black men, we kind of have an economic divide. I'm gonna play some more clips, but I just want to know what you guys think about that framework, your own experiences, Kwame as a single man with children, Mo as a married man, and I do believe you have children,
4.
my
Yeah,
4
4.
children. Me as a divorced man with 5 children. And I could attest to feeling the strain, I'm trying to keep up economically, but also feeling like, there were certain constraints that was placed upon me in my community historically, you know.
You want to go first? You want me or you want brother to go first?
You can go ahead and take off, Kwame, and I'll chime in.
All right. Well, for me as a guy that's been out here, single guy for a while and dating off and on and I was engaged twice. Um, but it seems like then they date different than when they get into a serious situation. I was good enough for a lot of women. I'm cool as long as we don't make it serious. As soon as they make it serious, it seems like the insecurities come out. Um, I've we had fun and went all around the world. As soon as we made it official, I can't go make no money, and I'm off with the next chick. The same thing she liked about me, it's almost like she wanted to guard it from every. And it's like I used to say, well, dang, like I'm in a business meeting. You done called me twice. I done told what else you want. Well, when you coming back? And it's like I find it hard to women that are insecure. So for me, a lot of men just stay single because they reap the benefits. It's like women block their mind off of their man. Like they're okay with doing whatever as long as you're their man. It seems like they have a playbook of what they in their man.
So what I've noticed is we have to break the destruction of the black family down at the and go back to the source of it, and that started with the no man in the house laws. That's when the state came in and basically subsidized women, specifically black women, to take on the state as their husband, as long as they would remove the black man from the house. And it was so critical that the black man in some cases couldn't even stay in the same state as the mother, not even around the corner, but he had to leave the state. And they would have search parties come and search the houses, public housing or wherever they would stay, and make sure the man wasn't there. And the thing is, in my lifetime, I saw this because I lived with my mother and my father, but they went back to college, and I had to go stay with my grandma for a year or two in low rent apartments. And you would see, like it was kind of like before the internet, so people would call like, the people are coming, and it was like the slave catcher was coming to check these apartments to make sure there was no man in the house. And so what we see now is just the continuation of that to the point where it's become generational, to that it's actually abnormal to have a strong upstanding man in the household. It's foreign. I luckily, like I said, I grew up with my father in the home. He is a very productive man, but as a father, he was very productive. Um, so seeing that, I wanted to replicate that. But when I would go to school, I was like an alien, because if you look at the percentages, there was uh, a special created, and you see the clips floating around now, and it's like 1986. They were saying 25% single parent rate was an epidemic. I think we're at like 75, 80% now. So how can you have any function or functional relationships when it's not seen? And that's why I try to present myself not as a leader, because I never call myself a leader, but I am a leader in my home, and I try to make myself an example so young men that may not have been able to see that can understand that one is possible. But first, you got to be very careful with vetting who you are with to understand that she appreciates the masculine principle, and then two, there's nothing wrong with running your house. So that's why I'll leave it off at.
But what you're saying is absolutely correct. I agree with all of that. To now, what's happening is it's the internet. The internet is giving out these talking about. They don't show families like you. The internet made me want to make it rain. That went against everything I was raised up around. But because the song was hot, guys that didn't agree with it, you look like a lame now a little bit. You got to make it drizzle. So the internet will make a Christian man be a thug, woman become a whore. So we have to work. We have to images that we have going out, and we have to get back to black men and women. Even when they're together, they don't trust each other. Married couples right now, both of them got separate bank accounts. They might put a little bit of money here in the pot, but both of them are saving for the rainy day. And that's not what a marriage is about. You have this partner married and hide my money from my wife and hide her money from mine. It's supposed to be money all in, and then that's the whole purpose of the union. Two people become one. If I can get a good one. And so we got a lot of people like marriage is a good thing for them. On paper it is, and take advantage of the union. Now, me, I won't get married for the same. I'm only going to get married if it's for building. I'm good all by my says, and plus, it's not that bad being single. It's not that bad. But at the end of the day, if I'm gonna have a wife, we're gonna be together. And when I'm weak, she's strong, and vice versa. Not happening nowadays. If most of the guys that I know, because of lack of trust, they can't go and build their. A lot of men can't even leave their homes at the proper hours. I go to the chiropractor and white men talk about it all. They go there, they want to do business deals, and if a man stay out late, he getting 50 house. You can't build and make money like that. So guys she has to be business minded. She has to know the hours that men they gather, and she has to be okay with that. If it runs over late, she pulls up your behind. She has to be okay with that. You have to be a husband at home amongst men out in the world. I was at a chiropractor with and this dude is closed over 200 deals, so he says, but he looked like he got the part. I just see myself.
I think I'm still here.
Yeah, everybody's still here. I just,
Okay.
this is, yeah, I'm just playing around with the angle since
Was
he
I
was
talking too much?
speaking. No. I wanted to highlight you since you were actually speaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
I'm like, oh,
No, bro. Have at it.
but no, let me try to find my thoughts, but I think I was somewhere along the lines that we have to build like we don't build as a team anymore. We have these said that look good on paper, but in actuality, they're two that are just getting a tax break. They don't They don't have the foundation of what a marriage was supposed to be because she was too old and she was tired of her coworkers talking about it. He got what men are supposed to do, I guess. But what are you building? Two people that are like mine, you should be building something by now, and not a build. And that's because we don't have that trust. Married a player, at some point you got to still allow this player to go out and work. Guy broke down to me at the chiropractor the way he dictate who he does business with. Meet your family. He wants to come into your home. He's gonna stay too long. He's gonna see if your wife and make your plate, set it in front of you. If they feed the kids first, all of this matters in the business world. Run your home. Everybody say they run their home, but there's a way it's supposed to be ran, and people don't like it because the way now is totally against how businessmen pick out who they're going to business with. If you can't lead your own home and get the respect of getting your plate in the children, if you can't, if you're about to close a 4 deal and this guy is going to intentionally drink too much, he's going to intentionally talk too loud to see what your wife does. If she can chill out and say down the outside, or maybe the man should say, let's take it on the outside so we can, then that's how he closed the deal. He's watching everything about those starting in your home. And most men we know they're home.
And you make a great point, Kwame, because the fact is that these roles are learned, and if you don't see these roles, then you don't know how to repeat them. And you bring up the point about economics. We always talk about the racial wealth gap and, you know, the economic situation black people are in. Well, it's only exacerbated by the fact that when you're trying to run two households, see, this is the thing. White America understands that the government wants you to have children. That's why they give you tax breaks. They want you to be married. That's why they give you tax breaks. The fact that we're trying to run two households, you know, separately. When you marry, that's one mortgage, that's one light bill, that's one water bill. This is a clear advantage they have over us. The fact that they get married, we don't have that advantage. This is extra bills that we have in place upon ourselves, and it's just an extra burden. And another thing you brought up was that women are emotional, and that's not a negative thing at all, because what they do, as I say to people I talk to, like, men are rough. And a woman is like the water that flows over a rock. You know what I'm saying? That water is going to smooth out that rock over time and make those edges smooth. It doesn't change the composition of that rock. It doesn't make him any softer, but it makes him smoother. And I've gone through this. You know what I'm saying? I was a little rough around the edges, but my wife, we were saying, pulled me to the side, be like, hey, you might want to ease up there, or you're saying, take it easy here. Now, she doesn't do it in front of the children, because we had to have a conversation that you can never undermine me in front of the children. Now, we can go behind closed doors and have it out, but this is something I learned from my parents. You know what I'm saying? They would go out, sit in the car for 2-3 hours, and then they would come in, you know what I'm saying? You know what's going down in the car, but you don't hear what's going on. So, but that's the thing, is that they have to smooth out those rough edges. But the fact that women, I'm going back to the point of women being emotional, this is why the propaganda and the media is targeted towards them. They tell them when they're young, if you submit to a man and you want to have children and not your career, you know what I'm saying, you're less than, you're a second-class citizen. The only thing that's so it's like you have black men at the bottom, then black women, and then you have married women that are what's the word I'm looking for? Housewives. Like, housewives, you hear how people talk about housewives. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the worst thing you can be. Oh, you stay at home? Like, people even say that to my wife when she's saying, like, I'm a housewife. You know what I'm saying? I run the house. But what she is actually the general manager of the house. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm out here trying to get it. You know what I'm saying? She makes most of the decisions on the day-to-day. Now, I have to look and say, that's not inside the budget, or this is inside the budget, that kind of thing. But she does the day-to-day managing.
But do you think that's sour grapes?
Huh?
Do you think that's sour grapes, like on the part of some women who might not have, you know, the opportunity to be a housewife? So they,
no, they've been trained. You got to understand this. Give me like 2 minutes.
Okay, so
I'm
you're
gonna
saying
break
it's
it down.
propagandized. Okay.
It's
I got
propagandized from Different World to Living Single to Girlfriends. You know what I'm saying? These shows, we emulate them. And they understand the psyche of the black man and the black woman. So that's why they showed you in Different World. Go get your degree, girl. You know what I'm saying? You can't count on him. You know what I'm saying? He might bail out on you at any time. But then when they get to a certain age, it's like, dang, you ain't married yet? You know what I'm saying? They play this psychological game on women. You know what I'm saying? It affects their emotional stability. So I'll stop right there so you can turn it back over to the panel.
Okay, and we do have somebody who joined the panel. I'll let her introduce herself in just a moment. So yeah, a lot was said. The propaganda, about the strong single, because the prevalence of single motherhood or single parent households began in the 60s. It was documented in documents such as the Kerner Report. If anybody's familiar with the Kerner Report, he pretty much documented what he thought was the disintegration of the black family and a pattern that would lead to generations of destruction. When he came out with that opinion about what he saw based on the data in front of him, because what he began to see was, and I'm framing this around this, right around 1955, 54 with Board of Education, Brown versus the Board of Education in 1964 with the 64 Civil Rights Act. We made some political gains and we got some legislation on the books that you could say abolished legal segregation or racism or discrimination. So we were, optimistic about our options moving forward. But what he recognized in that report and what he stated was that as, even though in the early 60s, there were millions of jobs created, you know what I'm saying? He saw that even as black male employment rose, even though it was still very low, that the welfare rolls were growing with single mothers just as fast, if not faster, to the point where they kind of intersected. So there we have, the beginning of the downfall, the attack on the unit, the removal of the father, the replacement of the male figure with the matriarchal figure, but at the same time providing her with a floor of support, economic support, so that the absence of that man isn't necessarily missed financially. You place women in a position of power. Over the course of one or two generations, when they're placed in that position of power out of necessity, for the most part, but after a while, you begin to reap the benefits. There are certain benefits that come with being a single mother, calling your own shots. Even if you're working and making your own way, there's always a level of support there for you, while there is no level of support for your counterpart. They'll give a black woman a job before they give a black man a job. They'll give her a leg up, and I'm going to play a clip in a moment to kind of flesh this thought out. But I just wanted to interject that in there and let this young lady who just joined us introduce herself. I think I can unmute your mic for you. I don't want to mispronounce your name. How you doing? Welcome to the platform. How are you? Oh, let me unmute her. I'm sorry.
I'm great. I'm great. My name is Southern Gotti. I came up at Queen Regina's request.
Absolutely.
I
Thanks for joining
greatly
us.
appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for coming in. Did you have something you wanted to add to the conversation at this point? We'd be glad to hear your opinions or your input.
Absolutely. So, a woman of my perspective, I absolutely agree with what Kwame's saying. Marriage of this day is a contract. And if you don't understand the contract and you're entering in a contract with the wrong individual, then your assets and everything that comes to the table with it is affected. The conscious dating and mating title alone, it kind of surmises the importance of separating what what you're told to follow and your gut instincts. Um, I cannot say that I can say that in my younger times I made it incorrectly. However, as a woman coming up and seeing the children that were brought into the world that was not asked to be put here, I had to make the decision that when I filed for divorce in my 20s, that I did not take that man through the ringer, because that was a decision that I made with that particular person. So, and then, as I went on in life, incorrectly choosing a mate, if a situation occurred, I had to make sure that that man was not affected by the decision that we made together. When you're trying to force a relationship that's not supposed to be, and then say a situation occurs, you just have to think outside the box and say, okay, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. This isn't where. So I need to think for his peace of mind and mine as well. So I have to figure out a way to remove us from the situation so that we can continue forward in life without negative situations holding on to us. So I greatly appreciate the conversation. I really wish that people would, men and women, understand the type of man that you have. You look at Kwame and you understand that he is a man that is satisfied with this particular set of values and traits. You look at the other gentlemen that's on the panel. Each of them have their own things that will satisfy them in life. Understand who you are with. If that man needs you to cook, clean, take care of children, do that. If it's a type of partnership where it has to take a joint effort and financial or work, do that. But understand who you're with. Don't try to make the person, meet them where they are. And if that's not the right person for you, then don't try to make it that way.
Absolutely. So, is it Southern Gotti? Southern
Yes,
Gotti. Can I ask you a question? I don't want to
absolutely.
get into your business. So, you said you divorced.
Yes, in my 20s.
Okay, you divorced in your 20s. Okay, were you raised in a single parent household or were you raised with two parents? Just
Single
out of
parent
curiosity.
household.
Single parent household.
Hmm.
Okay, that's my experience as well. Both my mom and dad were 16 when they had me. A very long time ago in 1972. Um, so being 16 um, and thrown into motherhood in a predicament where the black family was already disintegrating, and growing up under that, you know, I can remember the pride that was kind of lauded onto the single mothers, even though they pretty much were doing it out of necessity. It wasn't because they wanted to. I've dated a few women in my day who, all they were professional and successful, expressed the desire, like most, situation, to be a housewife, to be able to focus on the home, focus on the children, and to make sure that everything was done in proper order, in proper and decent order, as far as rearing the children and making that household a happy, and joyful place for the kids to grow up. And although my situation, there were plenty of good times, the economic struggle was apparent at times. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, so yeah, when you grow up in that single household, um, it doesn't really lay the foundation for you to have um, an effective model. You may have aunts and uncles in the periphery, but that everyday visual, physical, psychological, nurturing to put certain principles in you. Not to say that it can't be done, because it can, but it's just an uphill battle. And I wanted to play another clip, if you guys don't mind, to kind of
Can I jump in before you play the
Oh,
clip and agree
absolutely.
Hey,
with
can I
us?
jump in after Kwame? Because you just dropped some heavy stuff there. Go
Oh
ahead,
yeah,
Kwame.
jump
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
jump in, jump
I
in.
want to agree with both of y'all, but I definitely want Miss Gotti when she said that we should not what we want on the other people. And I I told her, you know, my setup and what I provide for, but she was very ambitious. She was driven. So this won't work. She was irate that I was in my position. And I'm like, look, that's not how relationships are supposed to work. Tell me what it is that you're bringing to the table. I'll tell you what it is, and I'm not yours. Please don't try to talk me out of mine. Right to pursue whatever it is we want, who we want, and we should be true about it. And for me, a woman who works all day, I the things that I need. You're gonna catch me with five, and I'm not gonna feel like a bad man doing so. It
Mhm.
puts me into. Now, if you're at home and we're trying your hardest to do the things that I'm asking, then I'm gonna. Um, and I think sometimes grow up in a single parent situation, they try the hardest to right that, sometimes to a fault. Sometimes we take too much. A lot of men that I know grew up in a single parent household, they verbal abuse from women because they don't want to leave that situation than their father. So to me, it makes them a weaker man. My opinion, me, I always stood on principle. I'm going to things that my kids didn't have. Excuse me. They go to this private school, the best school. I'm going to make sure for anything. I was 18 when I had my first child. I was 21 or 20 when I had my second. I had my daughter, and I made sure you're not going to grow up. You're going to grow up in the best neighborhood. You're going to go to private. I noticed that this is a thing that a lot of people don't like to talk community. I remember when she would go around her and her aunts, they would say certain things and then instead of my partner, like I have dark skinned daughters, and I remember my joke, "Oh girl, you sweating, you sweaty black," and I went crazy because I know that's how these young girls develop it's not because of society, it starts in the home. Her sweaty black, so she ran up to me, and I'm thinking with the mother, and it wasn't that way. It's like when you like if you make it successful and you kids, don't allow them to go around their other cousins and allow them to they're not black enough. Because a lot of times when you make your kids and you do better, they try to make the kids that you're behave like the kids from the hood. And I try to make sure that I know what goes on in the hood. I know sometimes, good kids to turn them into bad kids, and those good kids try to prove them. I know a guy that was making all A's, and by the time we made it to the ninth grade, he was because he was trying to prove that he's just as tough, and he was from a great family. So I definitely agree. I agree with you too, brother. But I do say that I know that grew up from a single. They try way too hard. I think they should a little more. If a woman is not like Miss going to allow you to do what you deem necessary, then take care of your kids and let her do it because it's going to. And that's why a lot of domestic violence to me is at an all-time high. Other people to do things that they know they don't want to do. Been that man that I'm not going to allow you to make a situation that I can't flourish in. Still.
Absolutely.
And I
Do
like to
you?
jump in right here because we have to understand that ideally raising children is a two-person job. Period. That's like when you go to Walmart, you buy one of those big boxes and have two people on it to lift it. Now you can lift it by yourself, of course. And sometimes out of ego, people say, I don't need no help. I got it. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to feel the pain. You're going to feel the stress. When you have two people lifting, it makes the job a lot easier and it doesn't put a lot of strain on one person or the other. And the reason why I bring this up is I have always had a father in the house. But I remember when he would be out of town or hanging out with his friends late, I never felt stable until dad hit that door and got home. Once he got home and hit that door, I could go to sleep because I'm like, we good now. You know what I'm saying? Anybody come through the house, dad gonna handle it. You know what I'm saying? But I can't imagine for children what that feels like not to be able to say, okay, dad hit the door. Now I can actually go to sleep. And I know if anything comes to that door, he gonna put himself between us and that object. And I'll say this as a grown man, I can't imagine what it's like for a young man not to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, dad, I'm going through this or that. And your dad say, hey, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be all right, son. You got it. You know what I'm saying? Those words are saying your dad saying you got it. You know what I'm saying? It calms you. I say all this to say we have to start shaping our, first of all, we have to start creating our own media to shape these things and promote these things and say it's cool to have two parents. It's cool for you to be, you know what I'm saying, with the woman that you had children with. It's cool for a woman, you know what I'm saying, to acquiesce to the masculine principle of a man. But that's not what we have. And I keep going back to the media because that is the source of the confusion. And it's no coincidence that when the television came into the home in the 1950s, 1960s, the propaganda came into the home. And that's where all these strange ideas started coming in. We have to understand who created Good Times. You see what I'm saying? Good Times, notice, they struggled when James was there, but when James was taken out the show, they didn't struggle anymore. Now, how is it that Florida did better by herself than when James was there? And these are the images they project to us, and they still project to us. So I say all that to say we have to make it popular and cool to operate in the proper order. And this is nothing against anybody that's a single parent. It's a hard job, but it's doable, but it's not. It's easier to have two people lifting.
Absolutely. And that's just echoing the point that the sister, Dr. Welsing, said that don't let anybody fool you that a family is just a single mom and children. It's not a proper family unit. So if I could play this next clip. If there's anybody else who might want to join in the stream, any other ladies, I'll be definitely glad to have you. Give me just a second here. Evangela, welcome to the stream.
Oh, salute. Turn it this way.
How you doing?
Y'all see me? I look upside down.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, KB, what's happening?
This is gonna be a good one. I'm gonna turn my mic off. Hold on.
Oh Lord, don't start. Don't do me like that, KB. Okay, so, sir, how you doing? Is it my turn to speak? First of all.
Well, go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm gonna play a clip after this, but go ahead and say hello to the room and to the chat.
Hey, salute, chat. Salute to everybody. Peace, blessings, and love to everybody. My name is Evangela. One more, it's 4 syllables, but we can put it together and it rolls. Evangela. Okay. I was asked to come up and I guess add a little something to the conversation. And I have some experience, so whatever we talking about, Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking to my research department. They sent stuff up. I'm sorry. Okay. I came in late because I was trying to get in and my phone died, so I don't know where we at. That's why I didn't try.
Okay, so take a moment. We're basically talking about some of the impediments to successful Black male-female relationships and hopefully some solutions as well. Oh, yeah. Everybody's pretty much basically sharing some experience. I'm trying to add a little historical perspective to the conversation. But whatever you feel like you want to share to add to the conversation, we're more than welcome.
Are you about to play a clip?
Yeah, I'm going to play a clip really quickly to just kind of move the conversation along, and then you definitely welcome to chime in on how you feel about it. Okay.
Respect and rebellion against the leadership and the authority of the black man. My position is that the black woman's disrespect and rebellion against the leadership and the authority of the black man is the direct cause of the breakdown in our black family structure. Now, of course, there are many black people who consider those fighting words because as black women, we have never been subject to the kind of examination that our men have been subject to since we have been here. We have been somewhat protected and shielded from any kind of critiquing about our personal behavior, whereas our men have always been up for examination. The book is not an attack on black women. I have never said that all black women do everything that I list in my book. None of us have lived long enough to do everything that I list in the book, but most of us do some of the things that I've listed in my book. And I do say that it is not because of generalizations that we are all victimized by some of the negative patterns of behavior in the book, but the book just represents our collective contribution. This is some of everything that we have done or that we do daily that contributes to the breakup of our relationship, the destruction of our man, and the failure of our children to be able to function. They did not tell us that all of that being my own person and I'm independent would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They didn't give us that information. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man.
Facts on facts.
Okay. Because I think, the first clip lends itself towards the outside forces that have, lent themselves to the disintegration of the black family unit. But at some point, there becomes a personal responsibility as well. And I think that this kind of frames the conversation, moving in that direction. And, Shahrazad Ali was a very controversial figure when she first came on the scene with that book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. I believe it came out around 89 or 88 or 90. I know I was in high school when I read it. And I thought she was a genius because everything that she described in the book at 18, I was already familiar with. I was raised in a single parent household with my mom. But over us was my grandmother, and I had two aunts also. So I lived in that household until maybe I was about 6 or 7. So with three women, three different flavors, you know what I mean? And
all influential, all very influential though, right?
Very influential up until this day. The imprint, is still there. Right. So I began to like I said, I thought she was a genius at that time. But when I look back at it, I'm thinking she was prophetic in a lot of words. This new movement, with the Kevin Samuels, and they just borrow from her. They just pretty much repackaged some of her work. And I'm not taking anything from the brothers, but the messaging is quite similar. If you, so there's nothing new under the sun. And I just wanted to bring her into the mix. I have another clip, and Mo must have been watching me get these clips together because he's hitting on a lot of the things that I was planning on introducing, which is fine. Like I said, when I watched Kwame's live this morning, he was also hitting on the idea of the black family unit, the black man in particular, being under attack. Because if you remove the man, then you can do whatever you want with whoever's left.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want physically, emotionally, spiritually, politically. You know,
Socially,
I feel like so many of our ills are because there's not a black man in on the set to say nah. You know what I mean? Because 90% of the things that come at our black women in the single households wouldn't come at them if there
if
was a
there was a black
man
man present.
answering the door.
Exactly, brother. I don't mean to cut you off, but that is it. That's the chord that you struck, is exactly what the initial plan was. If you notice, every other group seems to have the institution of family intact. Okay,
Absolutely.
there tends to be a man, a woman, and offsprings. Okay, but they knew because that's what creates a strong community. If you don't have the institution of family intact, then you can't build a neighborhood, then you can't build a community, and so on and so forth. So in order to break down a community, or if you want to subverge a community, you have to break down the institution of family first. Okay, and that is, if you notice, back in the time of Vietnam, they sent a hell of a lot of black men to Vietnam. Do you remember how those black men
Very
came
young.
back? Yeah, they were super young. But do you remember how they came back? They came back, a lot of them came back strung out on opioids.
Yes, ma'am.
And opium.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then they came back to find a lot of their families, in distraught because they weren't there to protect them. They were over fighting a war that really had nothing to do with them. Meanwhile, the woman and her children are back here trying to fend for themselves. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The man is the protector. The man is the provisionist. He provides. Okay. If you don't have the head on a snake, what's going to happen to the body?
It's going to fall.
It's gonna go awry. If you ever seen the snake head chopped off and watch that body slither until it just eventually stops moving, that's exactly what happened to the black family, and that was all by design.
Absolutely.
I've told this story to Kwame. My husband, when he met me, the first thing he said to me was he was going to show me how a man is supposed to treat a woman. I was a single mother working hard, just providing for my daughter. That man walked up on me, and when he said it struck a chord, and I just looked at him funny. I gave him a good old black woman side eye, like, nigga, if you don't get off my back, man, I'm out here struggling, trying to make ends meet, man. I don't have time for your bullshit, honestly.
It sounded good, though.
Can we use colorful language on your broadcast? If not, I will try to curtail it. I just thought it was another line. What I didn't know was that man was dead serious. He pursued it. He hawked it down, and he made that happen. And from the time he walked in my door, and he walked in my house, I didn't meet this man at a grocery store. I didn't meet him at a club. He walked in my house with a friend of my roommate. So I was minding my business. This is a lesson to a lot of women too. Us women, and this might take it a minute or take it off course, but a lot of women out here trying to chase men. That's not your job, lady. I'm sorry. You're not the hunter. Okay? That's his job. He's supposed to find you. You're not supposed to be out here looking for him. Because if you find him and he doesn't have that same interest in you, then you're going to get that bag of problems that you're going to have to carry along with the other bags. Okay? You should allow a man to search you out, because that means that man is going to be serious about what he found. He's not going to play with it, because that's what he's decided what he wants. Just a note. I'm asking young ladies today, and I talk to a lot of young ladies, and I tell them, ma'am, it's not your job to be out here searching down and hawking down men. You're a female. You're the prize. That's not your job. A lot of men will lose interest in you because he'll see you as somewhat of thirsty, loose, hot, fast. You know what I mean? And that doesn't lend to respect from a man, and you need that. Ultimately, in any relationship, a woman needs to have respect from her man, and vice versa. But in order for him to treat you like you should be treated, he has to first respect you. And a lot of times that respect will not be grounded in you chasing him down. It'll probably set in if he finds you and wants to take you in and treat you the way he wants, the way you should be treated. Because a lot of times today, it's a lot of women out here, they look thirsty. They out here just popping in DMs. I don't know. That just seems a little unladylike to me. And I could be, old fashioned. I probably am old fashioned, but you won't catch me searching and hawking down no man. I'm sorry. I'm the prize. I'm the trophy. I'm the
Absolutely.
support. You understand? Let's start there. And then if you can find someone to meet and match and grow and build with, understand roles. There are roles. I'm sorry, y'all getting it all jacked up. There are roles, okay? You could be to a household with 2 working people, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, as a woman, you're not a man. And as a man, you're not a woman. Okay? There are certain things that a man is supposed to do, and there's certain things that a woman should be doing. And we as women need to start holding ourselves to account. It's like, well, you can't tell a black woman that when she's wrong because, it's going to be some shit in the milk. But at the end of the day, truth is what it is. If you're not holding up your end of the bargain, if you're not tending to your children, if you're not trying to make sure your kids are nutritionally, taken care of and health wise, they're well and they're in their books and your husband is well and I know it's a lot. But a lot of women don't want to assume that role because it is a lot. They think somebody's supposed to be kissing their ass. Are you kidding me? If you want something to work, it's not about just you. Okay. If we building something together, it's not just about you. There's no I in team. Okay. There's a me, but it's backwards. It's about everybody. Okay. It's about the unit, not just about you. And we tend to be very selfish. We want somebody all up in our, all giving us all this attention and put yourself to the side and do the work and see what happens. Family building takes work, and that's what a marriage is about. It's about the continuation of a legacy that preceded you. You understand? If your parents hadn't had you, if them 2 parents hadn't had you, and them 4 grandparents hadn't had them, then you wouldn't be here. So you have a role as well in the continuation of the legacy in family building. But we don't think about it like that. We never think about the building of the legacy and what it takes to do that. Because we have way too many people.
Can I pose a question?
Sure.
Because a lot of the behaviors that you're calling out, the aggressive female, in pursuing a man or many men, what Sister Shahrazad was getting at was the influence of feminism on the Black woman and the Black community, because feminism taught women that the best way to be a woman was to be more like a man.
Exactly.
When you remove the man from the household, you kind of accelerate that process because you put a woman into a man's role. Then you come with the propaganda, hey, we can do just anything a man can do, and we can do it twice as good. So you get the messaging out there. You get the scholars writing the papers to influence academia. Do you have academia influencing the media? The media influencing our entertainment, leading to, like we say, we grew up on different world, Cosby Show, Good Times, and all of these mediums had messages that they were, because I believe, Mo, on your last show, did you bring up the fact that one of the producers or executive consultants on the Cosby Show or the Different World, he was into psychology heavy?
Yes. He's actually he stated, and you can go check my latest show out. He stated himself that he got into entertainment for the psychological aspect of it, not the entertainment aspect of it. So we got heavy duty mind control and manipulation going on. So I'll say this to men, since the sister spoke to the women. One, man, if you're not planning to have children, don't get married. I mean, there's no reason to get married other than to have children. I mean, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of marriage. Two, if you're going to have children, imagine if you had seeds, magical seeds that you could plant and it could grow a human. You would be very choosy about where you planted those seeds. You wouldn't just throw them on side the road. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't just throw them in some mud somewhere. You would say, okay, I need to find somewhere safe. I got to find somewhere fertile. I got to find somewhere, you know what I'm saying, has all the natural resources, you know what I'm saying, that these seeds need to grow. So what I'm saying is your genetic material AKA your seed is the most precious thing that you have. So when you're seeking out where you plant those seeds, you need to vet, you know what I'm saying, where you're going to plant those seeds at. I think a lot of times we don't begin with the end in mind and say, okay, I'm trying to start a family. What is the type of woman I need to start a family with? And just to make one final point, this is nothing new. Like the sister said, it says before you can plunder a house, you had to bind up the strong man. And this is what this government has realized. They have bound us up with the family court. It's set up for us, you know what I'm saying, to be stacked against us. Now there is spillage. There's spillage over into the white community. You see what I'm saying? But I'm explaining one thing about that. They see that as, well, you know what? We're just making our stronger. If they fail to the system, you know what I'm saying, we're weeding out the undesirables. So they can fail to the system, but it's designed for us to fail to the system, you know, to buy into feminism and say that, you know, women can be what men are. And that's totally false, because biologically it's not set up. A woman can't go and work on her career until she's 40, you know what I'm saying, and be in perfect health to have children. A man can. That's just biology. You know what I'm saying? We can't change biology no matter how many science projects they try to run. You know what I'm saying? You can't change biology. So we have to understand that and understand who we are and embrace that. So that's the points I want to make on that topic.
That's some valid points too, brother, because you want to plant your seeds in, like you said, in areas where it'll be beneficial and you'll get the best growth, light, soil, minerals, you know, those things. If you got a woman that is constantly just put it this way, she needs to have some light about her. And I'm always sharing love and light. I tell people that all the time. I wish you love and light, because in the darkness, you know, unless you're planted and getting ready to sprout, if you're constantly in darkness, then you can't see where you're going. You have no vision. There's no plan. There's no action. But you have to look for the light in a woman. And that's what my husband said he saw in me. He said he was drawn to the light. You understand? And I didn't know I possessed it. To be quite frank, it took him to tell me. So if I had knocked him or had just dismissed him as somebody who was just trying to run game on me, then I wouldn't have grown and I wouldn't have matured, and there would have been, there wouldn't have been a union. But see, a lot of women, they look at superficial things. They looking down at his shoes first to see if he got on some, whatever the latest is. Or they're looking around his neck to see how many chains are hanging. And all of that is very superficial. He didn't have none of that. But you know what he did have? He had a home. So when he did find the woman with the light, there was a place for them to come and he could have his family raised. Do you understand? He had things in place and he was looking for the right woman. So there is, there's an order to things, and we have completely gotten out of order, which is why our community is so far apart with hardly any chance to come back together. But I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic. We can do this. We can turn this around. We have no choice. We have no choice. We've already hit rock bottom is where we are. Again, me and Kwame talked about this the other day. If a war breaks off today and it's based off race, what are we, Kwame? Are we in good position? Yeah, get back in here.
I think you muted.
Yeah.
Oh,
you hear you now?
Yeah.
Hear you.
Yeah.
I'm chewing this ice for my guys, but we like the pigeons and white said we're gonna get picked off.
Yeah.
We have that way less than women. They can't really fight. A lot of weapons now, but that's because we shoot them at each other.
Exactly.
Shoot at somebody else, you won't have any ammo to shoot that gun with. So we don't have any infrastructure set up. People who know how to make ammo.
No,
we don't have a lot of people. Yeah, we're not in shape.
No,
we don't have water. So to add, it's essentially going to kill you. Is correct.
Ooh, they mess with you, Kwame.
Your feet going in and out.
Yeah, they said Pan Jones don't like black people.
Can I add to?
Oh yeah, go ahead, sis.
Absolutely.
Okay, so like For me, I raised three ladies, and yes, they were in a single family household. However, there were certain things that I put in place when I never stopped them from interacting with their father. When they got to a certain age, I made sure they had a phone so they can directly interact with their father when they needed them. Um, so it's my responsibility to make sure that because of the irresponsible decision that I made, that provided me with that beautiful creation, which was them, they could still be in their child's lives. Okay, so that was one thing. The next thing is all of my ladies are now above 20 years old. So the first thing I told to them, as far as coming up in the household, I said, what you have to realize is I'm feminine. I don't want to be masculine. I don't want to take on the role of the man. I want
There you
y'all to
go.
understand that, it is necessary to have a man. So what y'all won't do is bring any grandchildren in this world until you have the right partner. So each of you will get a dog. And if you cannot take care of this dog, you cannot take care of a child. So each of them has a dog, and one of them is in the military right now, and her dog is with me. And I have to make sure the small thing is she pay attention to. If your dog is here with me, then you're not in a position to have a child. And so focus on yourself. That man will come to you, and make sure you're making that conscious decision of who you're in a relationship with. It is great to say that we need a father in the home. It's even better to be responsible in choosing who that father is. You'll have less divorce contracts. You'll have less domestic violence situations. You'll know that the guy is either for the street or the broad is for the streets or whatever. But it's easier to put it off on something else instead of holding yourself accountable for the decisions that you make. And I do that to myself all the time. However, I understand that that was a period that I am in, and the wisdom and growth brought me to where I am now.
That's very
Absolutely.
true. And we have to
Can that,
raise our daughters to be more responsible and hold themselves to account, honestly. And that's the point I wanted to point out with Southern Gotti. Our daughters aren't being raised to tend to people. If you ever
Right.
notice,
Dog
today,
idea, not to interrupt. I love that dog. I might have to steal that one. I don't know. I might have to steal that ideal with having a little girl to understand, like, are the last thing that parents are thinking about. Like, that's the whole concept. Make that
Absolutely.
sacrifice to be able to raise, instill in them the fruit and to be able to feed their children. And
Absolutely.
do that if mama didn't pass that, it's not your fault. You don't. A lot of little girls were taught to work all they know,
that's all.
but they were.
Mm.
It's like, okay, you make $100,000, so why are you telling me about your money? You know what I
Mm.
mean, so that doesn't really, a man, when we make money, and most women pay all the bills, and yeah, I know men that don't even see their check. They just get and they break it down and they handle the household.
Mhm.
A woman don't, some I know, don't go home and get a check to some man, and so it's easy to relinquish that power. Is that work in a woman is the boss, and they can't. I don't even get along with her. She's always as vice versa. It seems like they do. I'm not about man against woman. They said that training. I know you that training. Once you get that training, a man don't have to fight with a woman. Training from a mother. So shout out to you too, man.
can I ask a question to the ladies in the room?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Angelica. Sorry, I forgot the name.
Based, considering the shift in the power dynamic in the black family, from the black man to the black woman.
Mhm.
Um, After a couple of generations in this mode, in this single mother mode, in this superwoman mode, where women have been given the reins in the control, in the black
Not giving,
family.
not a lot of times giving, just kind of ended up that way.
Yeah. And based on my experience dating
Well,
single mothers, um, okay. there's always a point where the friction comes because they're used to doing things a certain way. Now I have to respect it. You know, I never want to interfere with how they're doing things, especially if we're not married, although we're very intimately involved. And I can start to see there's a point to which, you know, my authority stops in her situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that from my mom. You know, my mom did marry briefly when I was a very young child, but it didn't last very long. So I see my mom dating, and you know how the dating life can go.
Mm-hmm.
But I could always see, even in my mom, that streak of independence, where it became, you know, a line in the sand. If that man went over that line and said, "Hey, you know, I think you should," and it might have been something good for her.
Yeah.
But she was used to doing things her own way,
Mm-hmm.
and she was not going to have a man come in her household and make her feel like, you know, she was having any demands put on her that she didn't want. And I've noticed that pattern, you know, when I was dating and, you know, single moms, and I would always let them, I would, you know, voice my, you know, I would pretty much voice it to them just in a way to let them know, like, look, I don't think, you know, you're ready. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To have a guy like me around anyway.
Right.
You might find a guy who's going to go along with your program and stay silent when he feel like he need to speak, but that's not my position. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we end up parting ways amicably. But I noticed these patterns. Do you think that there's a problem with a woman once she has those rings? Like you say, when that man came along and said, "Hey, I'm going to show you what a real man is supposed to, you know, treat a woman like."
I'm gonna show you how a
were,
man is supposed to treat a woman. Those was his
and
words.
you were hesitant.
Yes.
Although it sounded interesting, I'm sure. Like, wait a minute.
Negative. It didn't. It
It
didn't sound
didn't.
like no, it didn't. I thought he was crazy.
You
I
thought he was
promise.
talking
I
pure
swear to God,
cash junk.
I thought the man was mental, and that's sad. But that was the state of
But
affairs for
see,
me as being a single woman. That's why I can
see,
relate to
I
that.
was hoping that there was a twinge of truth that might have came through from that black man, because sometimes when somebody says something, you know, they can say it in a way where it's believable. And a lot of times they may, you know, hopefully follow through with their declarations. And I'm thinking that he followed through. You went sideways.
How my phone down? How did it
But do you think that there's that, you know, do you think women have a problem relinquishing that power? Because, you know, that's a power position. And they say that, who said that power relinquish nothing without demand? And what is the role of the black man in wresting that power back in situations where it's appropriate?
I don't think there's in my opinion, there's not a shift in the policy and stuff. It's a shift in the mindset. And that's why I teach my girls the place of the man. You understand what I'm saying? So regardless of whatever policy is implemented, whatever court procedures are enacted, they understand that if the system puts the black man at the bottom, it is your responsibility, if you decide to be with that person, to put him above you. You understand? And so it to me, it just doesn't matter what's in place. You can pass a law, you know, that says that this zebra is, you know, whatever. It is my responsibility to make sure that everything is how it's supposed to be, regardless of what they try to tell me that it is, from their opinion. You know what I mean? So I think it's more mindset. And as you said, people need to become independent thinkers, get into the message, be able to dissect, do your own research, and just, what is it that you say, Kwame? Chew the meat and spit out the fat.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I chime in for a second?
Hop in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm hearing some things of women allowing men to be in authority. If you allow somebody to be in authority, you're actually the authority. You know what I'm saying? Let's not play this game. If you, that's like me saying, "Hey, I'll allow you to sleep in my master bedroom. It's still my house." You see what I'm saying? So what we have to understand is men, and I always talk to the men, Because at the end of the day, we the one that should shape our own destiny. When you're looking for a spouse, a mate, whatever, like with my wife, I said, look, I got the GPS set and I'm going here. You can ride with me. Now, it's times that she may need to get in the driver's seat because I'm tired. It may be times like, hey, babe, can we pull over here to this exit? I want to see this. Cool, let's go over here. But at the end of the day, I have the GPS set for where I'm headed. Now, I looked at her as being the best mate possible to get to that destination. So this thing about allowing men to be in the authority, no. Men should already be in the place of authority and say, okay, I need to find somebody that is going to acquiesce, you know what I'm saying, and compliment where I'm headed. Now, I would say that another thing, there is no line, you know what I'm saying, like, in better or for worse. When you're in it, you're in it. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that can disrupt a union between a man and a woman is infidelity. Because you know what? That's mine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sharing that with anybody else. And once you do, it no longer is mine. It's for the streets. So we have to understand it and say, look, we going to fight. We going to fuss. We going to go get into debt. We going to get out of debt. You know what I'm saying? We ain't going to see eye to eye on how to raise the kids. Whoop. But we going to be here until the end of the day. And I would say to men, you also got to say, look, if it's not working for you, it's causing you mental health problems, you know what I'm saying? It's causing you stress, strain, and all that. You got to have withdrawal, you know what I'm saying? Be able to say, look, this is the exit plan. Here's half of what I have. You know what I'm saying? Look, be well. I'm moving on because your time is not worth your possessions. You see what I'm saying? Well, a lot of times we stay in bad situations that cause us bad health, you know what I'm saying, just to hang on to some possessions. So that's all I'm saying is we got to be careful of this. We allow men to be in authority. No.
Yeah.
No, a man should be in authority of his own life.
That's why I use the term, wrest power away. If you can't, I feel you can't have two authority.
Yeah.
If I'm coming
That's
in,
the mindset.
once I take my shoes off, I'm planting my feet, figuratively. You know what I mean? And yeah, I might allow, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to seem divisive, but as a man, we feel a certain way as men. You know what I mean? Naturally, when it comes to asserting, our authority. Some of us have different methods. Some of us have different ways of communicating, but I think we all have that same feeling, when our authority is abridged. You know what I mean? I heard Kwame Brown say something the other day, and I said, that's how I feel a lot of times if I'm in a situation where I have no say-so. I'm out. Eventually I'm gonna start being quiet. I'm not gonna have nothing to say. I'm gonna be like, hey, okay.
That's
I ain't gonna say
wisdom.
that else that I'm gone.
Yeah, you gonna say,
Look, mom is the word for me, and then I'm out.
I'm gonna stop having anything to say about anything before I
But that's
quietly
wisdom.
exit stage left, because I realize, hey, I'm not appreciated here. I'm not wanted here. I'm here as a fixture, maybe for a sexual mate, a diversion, entertainment, whatever it may be. I'm not here to be taken seriously in my fullness, what I'm bringing to the table. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with Mo on that point.
Can I explain why I say this though? Just one quick explanation, because some people might be frustrated with what I'm saying. Because like when Kwame said, when we go to functions and you're dealing with other real men, they're gonna look at you like, hold on, oh, she calling the shots, or you got to check in before you make a decision. And it's not about being autonomous. It's not about that. It's the point of when you get around other men, they're gonna sniff that out, and it's gonna affect your business dealings. It's gonna affect, you know what I'm saying, how people see you in society. So it's the equivalent of you're sitting your kid on your lap in the car, and they think they driving. You know what I'm saying? They got the wheel, you know what I'm saying? And the whole time you holding the steering wheel under the bottom, you know what I'm saying? You controlling the gas and the brakes. It's like, you know what I'm saying? The men that's sitting up on these women laps look like they driving, bro. You're not really driving. She's allowing you to appear like you're driving, but you're not really driving. And I'll stop there.
She questioned in the corner. She questioning you. So with everything you said, like I got called time. I told her, I said, look, I'm going. If we not on the same, it is what it is, because with that. It's another thing I always, if I can't make no money and I can't be with you, I'm not that type. you're gonna get old after a while, and some is gonna get older faster than others. Else you bring to the table, cooking and all that, but number one, we got to respect each other. A real woman will never hear me at her because if you talk to me with respect, I'm gonna do the same thing. But a lot of the communicating people, that's what make me bounce. Say, hey, I don't agree with what you're doing. If it's, hey, this isn't that. If that's how you calculate yourself, yeah, that ain't gonna work. Cause that's where that stress, that's where it escalate. This ain't even real yet, and we arguing like this. So no. Men, you got to be very conscious. A lot of us men have been taught standards. Taught just protect, provide, and taught that hey, if a woman is talking to you, you don't respond with meeting her where she at, with just leaving, and then she'll have to think about her actions because some women, that's what they want. Hey, I'm gonna try to talk to you at first. I'm out. I'll leave you with your own what you want to hear anyway.
Absolutely.
Because when a man can't feel like a man at home, he not gonna come home. I'm gonna just keep it 100 with you. But when a man can feel like a man at home, that's the first and only place he gonna want to be. See, a lot of these men got motorcycle, boats, all these toys because they got to go out on them toys to feel like a man. You know what I'm saying? When a man feel like a man at home and his woman got that environment, you know what I'm saying, feeling like the candles and all them pillows and everything else, you know what I'm saying? You hit the door, you smell good food cooking. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to spend money on yourself as a man. I hardly ever spend any money on myself as a man. I mean, like that's with my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like Kwame was saying. You know what I'm saying? He gave my mom the check. She, you know what I'm saying? She was the general manager of the house. He put little $20 in his pocket, but he didn't need for nothing because when he wanted something, it was already there. You know what I'm saying? She had already made sure, oh, he gonna need this. He wants some bologna, some crackers, some peanut butter. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the thing he liked, but she made sure he had what he liked. You know, beer, whatever else. So I'm just saying that it's a dance, and you can't have two people leading in a dance. Or y'all gonna be stepping on each other's toes, and I'll stop right there.
Wow, that's why I wanted Mo here.
I like that.
Definitely appreciate that. So let me see. I think I don't want to hold anybody hostage for too much longer. Definitely enjoying the conversation. Thanks again for everybody tapping in. Smash that like button. Subscribe to Kwame Brown Bust Life. Subscribe to Mo Facts. Hit their channels up. Entertaining, informative, all of the above. I think I want to play another clip. And the conversation has been so great that I'm kind of like lost track of where I wanted to go. But check it out. I'm gonna play this clip and see where it takes us. And give me 1 second here. We in the Matrix.
See, we have a lot of power. We are very strong women. I'm saying that we're using our strength in the wrong direction. We're using it to tear our man down, tear our nation down instead of building it up. Having an education and a job does not necessarily mean you have a successful life. I keep telling Black women that to raise a child, they say, well, I provided with food, clothing, and shelter. That's not raising a child, that's maintaining one. To raise a child, you need a parental coalition of a man and a woman. We have sons who, by not having a father in the home, they don't know how to respect women. They take on the Black female emotionalism. They're doubtful, they're indecisive, they can't make a decision. They don't know what to do about being a man because we can't teach them that. We don't have that knowledge. We have daughters who grew up in a home where they don't see any affection, where there's no man there. They go out into the world and try to mate. They don't have no idea how to be no woman to no man, how to function in a house with a man, because they haven't seen it. Most of our children, just like us, get all the information we have about how you be with a mate off television. It's the only medium that shows us anybody being together. Those rules have not worked for us. The white woman's liberation movement, we don't have anything to do with that. We have not been under the control of the Black man for over 500 years. So what do we have to get liberated from them from? They haven't been our boss. That's the white woman and her man. They're going through that, and that's their business. We don't have any business being in there. They only introduced it to break down the civil rights movement. Civil rights movement started with the black man, the black woman, and the black child standing together, trying to plead for freedom, justice, and equality, and more benefits in the country that they had built. They threw the white woman in there with the women's liberation movement and made it a woman against man thing. That created a big separation between black men and black women, because then everybody started going for self. Then they bring the welfare system in and tell us in order to feed and clothe and house our children, we have to give up our man. You have to put the man out of the house. When the white farm wife goes to the government for subsidy for the farm, they don't tell her to get rid of the farmer. They keep that family together. But in the black community, they make it a requirement, because they want to keep endorsing into the black community that the black man is no good, and that he is not deserving of respect. He is not deserving of us letting him give us any protection or instruction, and that we are better than them.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I think Mo was, I don't know, you was peeping my clips, or some kind of way you knew where I was going to try to take this discussion. And this is what I wanted to say. Prescriptions for reversing, the trend of the dismantling of the black family unit. We've subscribed in many ways to the dominant culture, for how to act, how to live, and how to behave. In a lot of ways, this has been detrimental to our community. So, with that in mind, with Sister Ali bringing in how the influence of the feminist movement, which I spoke about earlier, advising that a woman is better suited, to be a woman if she acts more like a man. I want to talk about some prescriptions for reversing the trend in the black community, specifically tailored to our experience. If we could talk about that for a moment, that'd be good. And then we'll probably close out after that. Mo, did you have anything you want to add?
Bro, I always come with solutions. You know what I'm saying? Because if we don't come with solution, then we're saying we just functioning in an echo chamber, right? So the thing, I subscribe to the 7 habits of highly effective people. 1, be proactive. 2, begin with the end in mind. 3, put first things first. 4, think win-win. 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. 6, synergize. That's just basically working together. And 7 is just sharpen us all, continue to get better. And the reason why I say that, 1 is the first habit is don't focus on roadblocks. Think on solutions. So these men out here to say, well, there's no good women. Well, where are you looking? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna find them at the club. You're not gonna find them on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Sliding in DMs of Instagram, you know what I'm saying, people and stuff like that. So it's just like begin with the end in mind. What does your family look like in your mind? See, I had a mental picture of my family in my mind to say, this is what I want. Now I plucked images of that from what I saw. Oh, that worked for them. This worked for them. That kind of thing. 2, I step away from the 7 habits. You can go look it up for yourself. 7 habits of highly effective people. Second thing is, we don't need any leaders. We need to be leaders inside of our home. And when you run out of stuff to do in the home, go to your nephew, nieces, cousins. When you run out there, go to people in the community, at the school or the church or wherever else. Everybody want to go be a leader of the world. No, be a leader in your home. And I'll finally say is this: when you don't have leaders, then we'll move like a school of fish. When you look at a school of fish, they're all in harmony. They're equal space. When one moves one way, they all move that way. When they move the other way, they move the other way. But when you look at it, you can't tell who the leader is. When we have this hierarchical thing, they could easily pick off the leaders. You see what I'm saying? And then that leaves us decapitated and leaves us destroyed. So that's what I'm saying. Like, look, when a man is a leader in his house, his kids look up to him. You know You know what I'm saying? They don't look up to people on the television screen and the internet screen and those kind of things, because for the most part, those people are hired by what Kwame calls the go along, get along gang to push narratives. And those narratives are counterproductive to the family structure, which is nothing but natural order. And I'll end on that point.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. One thing I would say, and this is borrowing from something that Dr. Welsing said, and something I think you also alluded to earlier, Mo. You know, she said that, you know, a man has to be a breadwinner. You know, if he's thinking about starting a family, like Mo, I think you said don't get married unless you plan on starting a family. Um, so I think that you know that providing component, you know, a man should focus on that early so he could be in position, you know, to afford a family. You know, you can't have a family and you don't have any food to give them to eat or a roof to put over their head. That's just one thing, you know, that I'm thinking. Um, and it's hard, you know, it's hard um, to think a certain way when you weren't taught. You know what I'm saying? And trial and error, you know, over the decades, knowing that bread is important, but not really focusing early on putting the blocks in place to be financially independent. So I think that if black men focus early on getting their coin together, you'll be in a better position to call shots. And when you're in a better position to call shots, I think you have more options open and available, and the more options probably be able to make better decisions. Um, but brother Kwame or sister,
Young, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, young fellas should be working on that. Agree with Mo. Um, they should just set the table, and if you build it, they'll come.
There you go.
And on his purpose will never. He'll have the pick of the litter, but he just got to stay focused and find out what works for him. It should be a singular thing. I don't. That's why I said I'm not a leader. I saw what worked and I saw what didn't work. Up with fathers in their home or a strong male presence, more confident. They were a little more in how to deal with it. With men, they kind of thought about consequences. With these young males, until I got with mentors and other older, I didn't care about consequences. I didn't care if you offended me. My feelings, emotions took over, and a lot of that are out here now, manly, but they're more emotional than manly. When you have something that you were fighting, you don't. That's the fight. That's the last thing is to have conflict. If it must be, come from it. But you don't walk around age other men because that can be your. Um, my advice is to like you said, let's go ahead and just focus on school, their purpose, and when guys are coming up to you, pick out the guys that's coming. Listen to like Miss Gotti said. Listen to the conversation, not how he looks. Don't worry about the pretty that they showed us because now relationships are becoming more transactional. Looking for how much money you got to reach this $100,000. That'll make you a good man, good provider. I know men that have they may have got a or inherited a house, do with what they got, and so we got to stop the man that's home and willing to die for his kids, live for his kids. That's the man for you.
Absolutely. And what's the sister's name again? Southern Gotti. Okay, I got it.
Cousin got it. Yep.
Are you still here with us? Did you want to
I'm still
add?
with you.
Do you have a solution or any suggestions or what you feel might be,
Absolutely.
the way towards unity? personal responsibility and the cohesive, the revival of a cohesive Black family unit.
I can only speak from the female perspective. Ladies,
Absolutely.
just pay attention to who you with. Like really pay attention to who you with. And once again, don't try to put your standards on or
Not to
expectations on
cut you
someone
off.
else. Oh,
Somebody just came up, so not to cut you guys off. Thanks for having me on the panel. I got to get out of here real quick.
always a pleasure.
Thanks for chiming in. Now I'll be tuning into the channel next time you go live, brother.
All right, brother. See you later.
Salute. Pay attention to who you're with, ladies. In the aspect of, as the gentleman, the host said, once you realize that you're with somebody and you're not equally yoked, you think of your peace of mind, their peace of mind, you part ways. It's not about putting somebody in their place unless you're saying their place is on the other side of the map, or to that aspect. You know what I mean? So don't force a situation, just be wise in it, as these gentlemen have been once they realize that you're not equally yoked. So self accountability, just being realistic, become a jurist if necessary, understand the laws that you're up against, not just for yourself, but for with the men. And for the other gentleman that said, allow a man to be, whatever, that's not even in my vocabulary. A man is, and that is it for me. So ladies, it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to not always interject yourself in situations trying to tell a man what they need to do. Men need to step up. Men are stepping up. They've been stepping up. So humbly be quiet and let these men work.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, sister. I definitely appreciate that. I just want, if when it's appropriate, I just want our sisters to be behind us. Um, support us, knowing what we are up against as a unit, as a community. I think that, the obfuscation of the common enemy is one of the things that kind of lent us to be scattered, to the winds, is the illusion of progress and success, the decadent veil of celebrity, entertainment, that they use to influence us and mask our failures. So yeah, I just want us to look beyond all the trappings, the propaganda, and let's get back to supporting each other, and all that entails, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, as much as we possibly can. So yeah, I don't have all the answers, and I just wanted to provoke this discussion, and hopefully going forward, maybe we can all come together again and kind of pick up on this topic and build upon it. It's very seemed like the engagement was very solid. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Appreciate everybody who chimed in. Thanks to Mo for joining us again. Go check out his channel. You might be there for a while. Getting into some of his videos, definitely informative, educational, and entertaining. Thanks to Queen Regina, she kind of quarterbacked this whole session. I think Evangela is back with us. I'll bring her back in for a final word. But thanks to Queen Regina and everybody in the chat. Did you want to end off with a final thought, Miss Evangela?
Thank you for bringing me back, brother. I apologize. Technical difficulties, but
Absolutely, we understand.
I just I want to say we can turn all this around, guys, and we have to think positive, remain positive, put positive energy out there, move in that direction, knowing that we can and we will turn it around. It's not even an option at this point. We have no choice. We have to turn it around. We have to hold each and every one of us accountable. We have to teach each other the way we should go, and we have to learn to sit down and have constructive dialogue and stop shooting at each other all the time. It's not about that. It's about building. And in order to build our group, we have to start with the institution of family. That's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sister. You were very welcome. I would love to have you back.
Anytime. My research department is working on my channel right now, so I will have a channel up real soon. And I would love to continue these dialogues between us so we can start to build our community up.
Definitely, we'll be on the lookout for that channel. Hopefully, you'll be up and running really soon. Thanks for tapping in. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody again who's subscribed to the channel. Thanks again for Mo for tapping in, bruh. I take my hat off to you. My headphones gonna stop me, but bruh.
No, thank you for inviting me to the panel, brother.
You. Oh man, I
thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate you, brother. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Again, thanks to everybody for tapping in. I enjoyed this, and hopefully we can convene again sometime soon.
All righty.
Thanks again. You ladies have a good afternoon. Mo, have a good afternoon.
All right, you have a good one, bro.
All right. I'll be at you. Get the likes up. Get the likes up. But definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in. Awesome discussion. I've seen some awesome comments. The chat was where you guys are live. Minus anybody who was disrespectful in the chat. I missed a lot of the comments. But moving forward, I will make sure that I have a few wrenches in the building just to make sure that we keep the disrespect away from the chat as much as possible. Absolutely, 420 Team Loud, you may share my videos. Please do. And hit the like button. Absolutely, hit that like on the way out. This is Bill Money for Dirty Laundry Media, and I will see you guys on the other side.